good afternoon, everyone. This is BX Sports Jedi. Welcome to the Return of the Knicks YouTube channel and podcast. We're here tonight going over the New York Knicks 104 to 96 defeat on the hands of Charlotte. We're here to break it down. Salute to everyone joining me tonight, or this afternoon, actually. The scary thing is Kemba Walker's return to Charlotte. Kemba Walker started the game off very, very phenomenal. He returned to Charlotte. He came in hot like a pistol. He scored 17 out of his 26 points in the first quarter alone. And you saw Kemba was on a mission early in forefront, and the Knicks went into halftime. They had a 16-point lead. They at one point of the game before halftime, Charlotte cut it down to 9. I remember I was doing the watch along, and I was mentioning, if you're the Knicks, you want to keep it at double digits here going into the half, so you could feel good and not give this team a little bit of hope, because Charlotte shot dismal from the field in that first half. They only had 2 3-pointers made. That were 2 of 17 from 3-point line before the halftime, and they were like, "Wow, the 3-point shot is not going in there." The Knicks were playing and moving well, moving their feet, playing really good defense. And they were riding the hot hand of Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker was the best player on the court for both teams, and the Knicks rode it. But they got a little bit sloppy down the stretch. They were up by 16. They allowed Charlotte to cut it to 9. So and it was like a couple of miscues trying to close out the quarter again. Turnover allowed Charlotte to make it a 9-point. They had a 3-point play and so forth, and they went to half at 9. And I remember mentioning it on the watch along play by play that I do here on the BX Sports Jedi Network. And I said, got to keep an eye on that. That if you're Charlotte going in, yeah, you're down by 9, but you could take that as a victory. We shot atrocious and terribly from the field, especially from 3-point land. No, and we didn't really play. You could tell they were on a long road trip, and they just got back. I'm not saying no excuses. They were maybe a little jet lag or whatever, but they're at home. We're only down by 9. This game is reachable. And then we had the second half. Third quarter started. Knicks allowed the Charlotte Hornets to get back into this game, in my opinion, early or foremost. Charlotte went on a 10-1 run to tie the game there. They started by first fouling. Unnecessary, goofy plays, fouling, allowing the Charlotte Hornets to get in rhythm in the free throw line. When you get some points and you're allowed, that's what's called a charity strike. You allow them to get some points, stopping the clock, feeling good, getting into rhythm. Wait, all right, we have an inspire aspiration of, we got some points. There's plenty of time left here. Wow, a 9-point difference, it became a 6. Then so forth, and all of a sudden you're tied. And the Knicks never got back up, never got up from that punch in the mouth. At least the starters, in my opinion. And one thing that behooves, you can't have your star players in Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. They shot 5 for 24 from the field. That's not good. 5 for 24, let alone 1 from 7 for 3-point land. RJ Barrett was not driving the second half, nor all the game. He had another concerning, terrible game again. No foul calls, not going to the line, and it also affected his defense. Both Bridges and Gordon Hayward ate those guys' lunches. RJ Barrett did not play that even one-on-one defensive basketball, not even on the help or off ball. He was late to cuts. It's alarming, because is there something not resonating in the back of their minds, and their effort is not there. And defense is partly effort with techniques, and you can't blame the coaching scheme or the coaching's plan, because, and I give you the example, when the second unit comes in, they play defense, their offense flows, they play well against granted it's against other teams' second unit as well, and our second unit, I think is, and I keep saying it, is the best in the league. One of the best benches in the league, if not the top 2, top 3. Like, I'm gonna just be a little realistic, and I care to myself, it's not coaching scheme. I'm looking at this year as a concern, and I'm asking you guys listening to me on the podcast, on Spotify, all the other areas, Spotify, Anchor FM, Reason FM, Buzzsprout, Podbeam, anywhere you get your podcast, and also on YouTube. All the ones that are going to watch this later, because this is pre-recorded. I want to be totally transparent. It's a pre-recorded podcast, and I'm going to edit it and bring it on later this evening. I'm going to ask you, is this a sign that this team right now have egos? And the first 3 games they play phenomenal, world beaters, new season, new hope. But I have an opinion, and I have it's my opinion and my take. Ever since the Knicks played Charlotte, went down to New Orleans, we have a totally different team. And I think these are all four of the 5 starters at one time were known as alpha dogs in their own in particular location. Kemba Walker, we know, in Charlotte. We've seen Evan Fournier, not only with the French national team in Orlando. At times, he wasn't the main starter, but he was a main contributor on the offense. They ran plays for him because I live in Orlando and I seen it from the Magic. I could say that because I've been here for close to 17 years in the city, beautiful in Orlando, and I seen it firsthand. I guess I am a true diehard Knicks fan, but I also like NBA basketball, and I have gone, when tickets are free on the arm, and your team years past, you all know the history of the Knicks, not that great. You go watch a little bit of basketball, NBA entertainment. Even when the Knicks came into Orlando, I will go all the time. So I can tell you from my eye test. That's the point of this. What I'm trying to bring on this point up, and I see Fournier, he could play, and he's all, at time he could take over a game as well. RJ Barrett, we know he's been groomed to be an alpha dog as well. Even Duke, he has Zion Williamson and so forth, and I'll get to Zion Williamson in a second. And they know, and you saw Julius Randle last year being the top dog, and everything revolved around him. He gave us that successful season last year, pleasantly surprising season last year. 8th in the MVP voting, all the accolades. And now these guys got to learn how to come together. And as right now, the first 4 or 5 games were good. But against it was an Orlando team. You caught Boston maybe out of the gate slumbering, although Boston has their own chemistry issues between Brown and Tatum, but that's another story for another day as well. And there's not no excuses because the Knicks have the talent. We upgraded and we bought in the upgrades on those talents. But right now, all these alpha males that are not clicking. And I go back to the Pelicans game. Could it be that Julius is hitting the noise and I said it before on my podcast, and it's just a hypothetical theory. It's my opinion. That's what makes me who I am. That makes me BX Sports Jedi, because I have my opinion, my take, and my thoughts, and everyone has and you don't have to agree. We could agree to disagree. But my thought is, I think the talk of RJ Barrett, especially when RJ Barrett had that career night in New Orleans, things flipped. You saw that after the game, RJ went right to or Zion seeked out RJ because Zion crossed the line over just to say hi. The game's over. Of course, you're going to say hi. You're not. We're not in an antisocial world. Although some people act like it, but they had that handshake, that really genuine, collegiate, brother to brother, family member handshake, down pat, didn't miss a beat. It looked so natural. And ever since then, I said it. Keep an eye on Randle. He's not playing well. Everyone, hearing that Zion Williamson wants to come to New York, how much RJ Barrett will relish, how much marketing ability will the New York Knicks have even more with the Zion Williamson and billboards in NYC, And granted, you're going to say, well, BX, last year to cover the magazine, you had RJ and Randle. Yeah. It wasn't RJ. It wasn't Randle alone. Randle had the MVP year last year. RJ was pretty good. He stepped up. And I'm not saying I'm not. And I hope I'm not. I hope I'm talking out of the side of my mouth, because I'm more than happy to talk by the side of my mouth when it comes to this here. But maybe there is something to this, a little bit of ego that the team is like, and here's the rumbling from us that I'm going to be totally transparent and honest. I've been saying since March last year, and it's on YouTube. You could go to my former program, Knicks Real Talk. I said it there. I think Zion Williamson is going to end up being a New York Knicks, and I got to take a biased lens out of there because I don't care if I get the prediction right or wrong. I don't care because at the end of the day, my prediction, if I get it right or wrong, isn't going to pay my mortgage. It's not going to pay my electric bill. I still got to work. I still got to do my things to make that happen. I'm just saying it as a fan or what I seen as my thoughts and what I feel. My opinion. It's not going to change a difference. So my opinion, my thoughts are saying that I think Zion Williamson's still going to end up being a New York Knicks. And I don't want to I don't want to say, but I had a conversation outside of someone that is connected with the league, that knows about it, and you put two and two together. We had a conversation, that and I was the Knicks. Remember the Knicks game plan, and this wasn't from the New York Knicks either. It was from another NBA organization within the ranks. Was saying the Knicks plan, and everybody knows it. Their plan was to move Julius Randle last year at the trading deadline, get some more picks, rebuild. They saw they saw what we've seen, a little bit of glimpse of Obi Toppin, and that's why Obi Toppin was drafted at that position. And you say, why draft the same position at that time when you just had a Julius Randle who was only 25 years old last year? And it's because they seen that they could have gotten a lot of value or haul for Julius Randle, and they didn't expect them to be fourth seed last year in the Eastern Conference. They expected probably be number 9, 10, fighting for that playing, opportunity, and maybe they would have got rid of Randle and still wanted to, they would have been successful if they were in the Washington Wizards position last year. And that's what the Knicks expected as a brass, and the narratives changed. Kudos to Julius Randle. He took the major step forward, going forward, elevating his game. We all know revisionist history. We know exactly. We've seen it all. I'm not gonna continue going back that long. You know the history. And back then, it was Julius Randle was supposed to be traded. Now, we all celebrated and we're all thankful that Julius Randle is our all-star and phenomenally for good reason. He's shown it and he keeps showing it. He is the best player on the Knicks team for 48 minute wise. Now, in a short-term burst, in limited minutes, is Derrick Rose. I'm sorry to say it, but our best player currently right now, 99 out consistently, is Derrick Rose. But Julius Randle, 48 minute wise. So back to that narrative with this, I think Julius, the hearing, the seeing how much you also saw a lot of players gathering around Zion Williamson quickly. So of course, teams say hello to one another. That's customs after the game. But I think that kind of bothered and has bothered Julius a little to a bit. He hasn't played the same since that Pelicans game. You see him at times not wanting to get back and give that defensive effort. At times, reverting to a few things that happened in 2020. And it's not to pick on him because he had a freaking good game early part of the Charlotte distributing the ball. And I remember when I was doing the watch along and I said, Julius Randle has five assists. And I go, when Julius Randle has a high assist game, the Knicks 92% last season won a lot of those games. Yeah, and close to triple double. And then he took over, in the second half, closing out the second quarter to halftime and then taking over. That's when and getting RJ Barrett involved and so forth. And then you had the fourth quarters with Alex Burks. We know what happened last season, but that was the blueprint because Randle was the main focal point, and he got going and he got his teammates. This year he's got a lot of different alpha dogs, and I don't know. He wants to show that we know that you're the main alpha dog. We don't need you to. When Julius Randle, what I'm looking at, he's forcing the game instead of letting the game come naturally to him. And very predictable when he comes out on offense. And I know Chef Dan, we debated about it last night after the post game, and he had great points, phenomenal points, saying The team passes the ball, and they're relying on Julius to hit that long range jumper that he was hitting like money last season, not going in this year with the shot clock winding down. The long range shots are not John falling in for Julius Randle. And the team as a whole, when it comes to non 3 pointers, long range, mid range, long range, they're not that well shooting. They're not hitting that shot, and it's not falling currently right now for them. Now, one thing that I totally go hard on the New York Knicks every watch along, and I always tell you that stats points in the paint. They need to continue to attack. When they score high, that Milwaukee game, for instance, when they were on the road trailing, the Knicks dominated the points in the paint and they kept dominating the rebounding. I kept saying at halftime, we're trailing right now, but if the Knicks continue to cut the deficit, keep getting the high percentage field goals in the paint, getting some foul calls, getting the rebounds, limiting to the Milwaukee Bucks to one possession, not that and so forth. You have a recipe to get back in the game, and you've seen the way the switch was flipped. They ended up winning that game by 20 plus points. And my point was, every game I look at that stat every time, and I emphasize it when I do a watch along. The Knicks need to attack in the paint, and that's where I would love to see more of RJ Barrett. And if RJ Barrett gets discouraged, in my opinion, when he doesn't get the foul calls, and I know the NBA officials are doing another bad job not giving him that foul call. He gets mauled underneath the basket, double team. They're whacking at him and no calls. You still continue playing. You're still going. You still keep driving in there and drawing that double team. And RJ Barrett is very well good passer. That I think he needs to work more on that game aspect of his game to help get involved his other teammates. Maybe you want to see that after like halfway point of the first quarter, try to get him going involved in that to see if that works. And also these Knicks starters, you're gonna have to ride the hot hand at that moment, until you are able to get it to the next hot hand as a starting unit. If you're seeing when the offense ran through Kemba Walker, they were successful. And I'm not saying it has to be night in night out. If every game is going to dictate who has your hot hand, in my opinion, you ride that until you get ready for the next hot hand, because you know what we're going to get from the bench. You know what we're going to get: balanced scoring, ball movement, maximum effort, high energy. Salute to Obi Toppin, high energy. Yes, Obi Toppin makes mistakes on the field, on the floor, but he makes up for it with his high energy. He makes up for it with his presence, his athleticism. He's able to use that gift currently right now until he becomes basketball savvy with that wisdom of not to get beat and not to get um, not to make those defensive errors, and that's going to be an issue for the Knicks. He's going to be, and it's a good issue, not a bad issue, a great issue. If he once he puts that makeup together, what can you say about Emmanuel Quickly? Emmanuel Quickly, he only had 9 points. And that's why sometimes stats could be a little misleading. But he was the most impactful player on the court, if you ask me. Quickly hit some back-to-back threes that were extremely important. They tied the game, cut the lead in the swing part of that game, and his impact. He's very impactful on the court, and also Alex Burks. Alex Burks, from time to time, he's not going to be the most sexiest statistic player, and he is what he is. He is a role player, but he's a really good role player for the Knicks team. He does a lot of good things. Very useful, very versatile, very helpful. You could see when he has a phenomenal shooting night, he could actually be an impactful taking over a game. He'll get you 17 points in a quarter type of deal. We've seen it. We've seen it last year. He was a clutch 4.4 quarter player at times. A handful of times. He was very impactful. And what's the answer here? You're got a 2-game losing streak. You lost 5 out of 7 of the Knicks. It's still early. You're still over 500. You have some games coming up against Indiana, Houston, Orlando. Winnable games there. You could say 2 out of the 3, but this is the NBA. You can never take anyone for granted. But you got to. They got to figure this out with the starting unit. And I really personally, I don't know what the answer is. And I'm not going to say trade because no, it's ridiculous. It's only November early in trade. But remember last year, I think it was like 20 plus games when they made the Derrick Rose trade and they bought Derrick Rose in here. Is there another under the radar type of move that the Knicks could exploit to try to bring a person in here? I don't think is there. The only person that actually I comes to mind, and he's not being utilized too much right now, but I don't know what is it going to take to bring this player here of X caliber here, and I don't know what the Knicks need to give up, and I wouldn't want to give up anybody from our from our bench, and I don't know, you can't really trade anyone from our starting unit anyway, because I think you got to wait till December for Kemba or Fournier, and you're not going to trade them. You just bought them here, and they got some premier talent. For the person I want to bring in here, and I'm about to mention his name, um, you really can't give up anyone. I wouldn't want to give up Burks, and I don't think if you give up Burks, you're gonna downgrade anyone in the starting unit. I said, Kev, so BX Kev, why are you gonna make this trade if you're downgrading? Because you have a roster spot of a player that is not really being utilized, and that's Kevin Knox. I think you need to package Knox, and you're gonna have to give up one of those first round picks just to get him off the bench, get him off there, free up that roster spot for this player that actually could help this team. And believe it or not, yeah, he could actually help this team. Is Patrick Beverly. Patrick Beverly was already traded like twice already, three times. I don't know if he's able to be traded again. I got to see the CBA, so I might, it's just hypothetical. I will go Minnesota and try to get Patrick Beverly in this team. Patrick Beverly will take Nash's spot. He's not gonna take diminish. And I said, well, you got Quentin Grimes and Deuce McBride. Yeah, but they're not playing them. So you know what? If Thibodeau relies on veterans or doesn't feel his rookies are up to par, doesn't have it to, or is going to get beat, and is not going to have the smart intelligence, the IQ to play on the court, give up and be a detrimental to the team instead of putting them in succeed to put them in a position to succeed, not to fail. So go get Patrick Beverly. You're bringing Patrick Beverly who could play you. You could play him for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Well, whose minutes you're going to diminish? Well, you got to diminish it. You're going to have to diminish it all across the board. You're going to have to take out 3 minutes from Rose or whatever around that time, a couple minutes from Kemba Walker, play instead of Kemba Walker 24 minutes, you're going to play Kemba Walker now 17 minutes, and then you're going to give that minutes to Patrick Beverly. You're bringing Beverly, you want to keep Derrick Rose as fresh as possible. Personally, right now, I'd rather have Derrick Rose continue playing 20 minutes, and diminish the roles between Kemba and if you're bringing a Patrick Beverly in here, or you could swing Patrick Beverly in, at times for RJ Barrett and move Fournier to the shooting guard, because I think RJ Barrett is, and everyone says, well, right now the NBA's position is basketball. Nonsense, because you still need, I think when the Knicks position is basketball, I think it's nonsense, because you see the Knicks when they went against the Cleveland Cavaliers, they were out rebound. They that you see in the height disparity. Cleveland is much taller, especially in the front in the forwards, um, by a large number. I don't think Mitchell Robinson is healthy fully. I think he's a major banged up, and I think he's playing injured and quiet because he's on that final year of that contract. He wants to get paid, but if he doesn't speak up, he's injured. He's hurting the team right now. Noel's injuries right now. When he's on the floor, they give the Knicks another dimension, and that's showing up. Now you question and shake your head. Why did you give Rowan Zoel $9 million for you're injury prone as well? Well, when he's on the floor, he's very impactful in a positive way on the defense and energy wise as well. I know he has hands of stone that doesn't score, but you're gonna need Nolan Zoel's defense, and that contract is movable if you want to. But back to Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson, he's not playing, and he was a little bit impactful early, but he's not getting to the offensive rebounds like he normally does, jumping, above and beyond. He's getting beat. Looks a tad slow. I don't know if it has to do with his injuries or if he's got reoccurring injuries right now. It'll be interesting to see with that, uh, um, you know, and maybe you guys, Knicks fans, were right to think about trying to get Miles Bridges in here. I don't think he fitted under the salary cap situation with the Knicks, currently as it's stated. But maybe that was something we might have tried to pull the trigger, or I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting to see. I personally don't want to see any trades with the major with this group. I don't want them to diminish anybody from the starting line. I understand you gotta lose something to gain something. You gotta invest some money to make some money on your returns. That and everything. That's like in life and everything. You invest to multiply. sometimes you get, and this is a business. You can't get attached to these players either because it's a business. They're in the business of winning. Thibodeau's in the business of winning games, wins and losses. And I understand sometimes why he don't play the rookies and so forth. And and I keep saying there's a reason why McBride was in the state late. I was in the second round pick. I think he's well talented, very diversible, very good player, raw right now, and I think he's undersized. Height wise. Quentin Grimes, very good player, defensively, and he can shoot the three. But I don't think Thibodeau is in there in that circle of trust either. And Knox is Knox. I'm not gonna even elaborate of what Thibodeau thinks. I don't know. No, I don't know. Now Thibodeau, you have a year and a half of seeing, or let's say a year. Let's say December to December. You got a full year of viewing Kevin Knox yourself. You know, and if he's still where he sits, then it says a lot about what you think about Kevin Knox. You can't develop anymore. He's got 4 years. It's going to be fourth year, entering his fourth year. He's going to be a free agent. And I granted he might have not went the way you wanted him before you or whatever scouting report, whatever stereotype you had of Kevin Knox, and now you're seeing him day in day out in your practice. He's in your building and he's still not getting the floors for a reason. The Knicks could use a shooting guard. But who's lengthy, who has and Kevin Knox semi fits that bill, but obviously he sees something that we don't. He's the coach. He has the coach's eyes, the reigning coach of the year, and he sees something. Now, one thing I am going to criticize Thibodeau, and I'm going to first give him praise here. I saw in before the first half, he sprinkled some of the starters in with some of the second unit. At one time I like this one in the second quarter. He had Julius out there with Quickly, Rose, Burks, and Gibson. And I like that the offense still flew well. They still passed the ball. They didn't allow the ball to stop with Julius Randle. The players, I saw a possession there where it went through everyone but Julius, and they got the open three. And I was like, good. You know what? That's a small, minor, humbling experience for Julius that this offense could run, flow, and they could score, and they could still be athletic without you stopping the ball. And I'm not calling Julius Randle a ball stopper. No, he's no. But when Julius brings the ball up and it's predictable, and I keep saying it, teams have scouting reports now because Thibodeau played all these players all through the preseason, plus the first few 10 game, 12 and 10 plus games in the regular season. So you got like almost 15 game sample size of what the Knicks want to do, and teams are playing it. Teams got good scouting report, good video text that brings that and breaks down the film to these coaches who specialize and defensive specialists coach. Now these days they got a coach for everything. And I think they figured out the Knicks offense. Currently, if Julius brings the ball up, keep everybody push him through the 3-point line, keep pushing him back more because Julius is going to get the ball, pass it around to Fournier or pass it Harlem Globetrotter style around the 3-point line up in its key. Then you make sure you trap him to the corners or the side, where there's not a lot of court where you could actually step out of bounds or turnover. Then they'll pass it, trap him. Then Julius is going to try to have to chuck a 3-pointer or a long range from that angle. But the thing is, Julius won't step forward. He'll step side or back fadeaway, and that's not a high percentage shot. And as you see, he's missing, and he's not. That's why the shots aren't really falling in for him because he's doing those kind of shots. He's not stepping into them. He's stepping side, and he fell in love with this fadeaway. That right now it's not hitting, and the fadeaway. There's a time for fadeaways, yes. And also I'm as much as you think I'm trying to knock Julius here, but I also want to give also his accolades too. When Julius has been double teamed, he's been finding the open man. Fournier's been terrible. Don't grant it. He's been in a shooting slump. RJ has been in a shooting slump. And this is a handful of games. About 3 games, he has left quite a number of assists on the table for Julius Randle because his teammates aren't bailing him out, hitting the shots. And that's also another concern. So as much as I'm thinking I'm knocking Julius Randle here for the shot selection and forcing the game, well, there's a little bit of both there because he's finding his teammates and he doesn't trust his teammates right now. And that's what it shows on his play. And because his teammates aren't hitting the shots, they're letting him lose. I know he's not there worrying about an assist total. I'm not, the ones that are worrying about the assist totals are us here and all the analytical geeks that want to go that get excited by the numbers. I don't. Numbers are numbers. Numbers could be very extremely deceiving. if you ask me. I don't, I go by the eyeball test, and what I see with my eyes calling the games. So, but I'm trying to, but you also got to bring the numbers facts. You got to sprinkle a little bit of both. And Julius lost a lot of assist tape, and I don't think he says, "Well, I'm not going to get assist. I'm going to take the game myself." No, but it gets frustrating that the shots are not going in. And last year, he was the main alpha dog, and he knew that everything revolved around him, and he felt like he had to get it going, and then the teammates will pick him up, and it's not working this year with this group, and also it's starting to show on the defense. They don't get back on transition at times. The starting unit, they get lackadaisical. RJ Barrett's not playing. Now he's been put in that role of the Bullock, the Paytons of playing the tight defense and playing and being the main guy who shuts down the opposing teams top player, top wing. And RJ at times comes up big, and there's times he's not. So I don't know. Could it be an issue, especially coming out of the Cavs? This is the fourth game, 4 out of 5 game that they come out of the halftime not inspiring. It's not the coaches, because Thibodeau is going to put this team in a position to succeed. And it's not the scheme. You can see it's a rinse, repeat effort and situation with this team over and over again. Thibodeau is not the one is not the one out on the floor, not getting back on defense, doing ill-advised fouls, not rotating properly with their man, and leaving shooters wide open, getting out rebound, getting out hustle, getting lackadaisical, and allowing this team to get the opponent's second unit, or second burst of speed to score. And it's a minor concern going forward. How can we fix it? Thibodeau only knows. It's and everyone could say, well, we need to start Obi, or we need to play a little more Obi. I'm okay with the minutes Obi Toppin has right now. I would like to have Obi Toppin get maybe 5 more minutes. That's it. No more than 5 more minutes, 5 less minutes to diminish on Julius Randle, in my opinion. Because Julius Randle is still your top dog. Now that game in Charlotte, the Knicks when they took that two-point lead on the Obi Toppin dunk, they were leading by 2 with 5 minutes and 17 left to play in the game. I understand and I agree why you're Tom Thibodeau. You bring your starters back. You brought back three-fifths of your starters. You brought in Fournier, you brought in Julius, and you brought in RJ back. The Knicks were outscored 13-3 after that. No one in the right mind is ever think down crunch time, closing out a game, your 2/5 of your starters on the floor, you were gonna give up a 13-3 run to close out a game. No one ever thinks that. If I would ask you that in July, if I would ask you that in September, if I would ask you that in August, when we were doing countless hours of content creating, and speaking hypotheticals and going back and forth and playing YouTube 2K on YouTube with our thoughts, because that's what we did all summer. It was NBA 2K here on YouTube. And no one would have said that the opposing teams will go on those kind of runs with 3/5 of your starter on the floor. So with that said, you know something's not right here. I don't know what it is. I wish I knew. If I had a magic ball crystal, I will give you six magical numbers, and you guys will be on a yacht somewhere, on a yacht, and not even worrying about, you'll be at courtside, probably buying Spike Lee's tickets to tell him to go take a hike and stop being a jinx, and you'll sit in his place, laugh out loud. So, well, let's see how that goes going forward with it, with the Knicks, and also, what's scary is Charlotte. You can't give up 58 points after a half. The Knicks gave up in the third and fourth quarter combined total of 58 points. That's not what we saw last year. It'll be interesting to hear. I got Tom Thibodeau's takes here. I'll bring it in a second. So this is courtesy of MSG Network. I'll give you Tom Thibodeau's takes real in a second, and let's hear from Coach Thibodeau.
See the offense stall.
The third quarter was a problem. Then the bench came in, straightened that out, fought, got the lead with 4 to go, and didn't close out.
When you look at the starters, they talked a lot about taking ownership of needing to play better tonight, and we saw that in some stretches. but they still end up in the minus category. What did you see from that starting unit?
When we started the game well, built a big lead. In this league, you got to play for 48 minutes. That team's capable of scoring a lot of points, and no lead is safe. And so if you don't play, with the right intensity, the second half, we didn't play well. So we got to fix that. The bench came in and played well, but we need everyone playing well. We don't, it's a team. So you need your starters to play well. You need your bench to play well. They need to play well together.
So we'll leave that at that there with Thibodeau. So thank you to the MSG Network for YouTube channel to allowing us to use that there. All copyright, all reserves is to the MSG Network. So thank you for allowing us to use that going forward. So my point is, you hear it. The Knicks not playing well all around together. You heard it from Coach Thibodeau himself tonight. And he's frustrated. He's trying to figure out the answers. He sees the second unit is playing well. The first unit, the starters aren't. The Knicks need to play a 48-minute game. I've been saying, when is it coming up? I'm thinking it's coming soon. You're going back home to the Garden. Let me tell you, if the Knicks get this lackluster effort against Indiana, there's going to be some Bluebirds. Don't guarantee the Bluebirds will be at the Garden raiding on them as much as, because this team, as much as we want to celebrate them, as much as we want to give them the accolades, we want to give them praise, and we want to, cheer these guys. The Bluebirds will be out if they come lackluster. We shall see, because not for nothing, every game you're not going to get the same intensity from the second unit. There's going to be some nights that will be off a little bit. It's just human nature, and I hope not. I hope I don't jinx it. I hope they continue being on fire, keep rotating, keep playing. And the thing is, I don't know what move can you do. I've been, I contemplated last night to this morning when I was having my breakfast out on my patio on a beautiful Saturday afternoon here in Orlando, Florida. It's a beautiful, warm Saturday, and I'm sitting in my patio listening to birds chirping, and I'm thinking about this team. What can the Knicks do in the starting lineup for now without decimating the bench? And one player, who could we swap out? Because quickly so impactful to put him in a starting unit. And you're gonna sit Kemba Walker. I don't know. Rose is comfortable. I don't think Rose meshes well with the starting unit personally. And we have a sample size. You saw in the playoffs. We saw earlier when that back to back. I don't think Rose meshes well, or doesn't. I think it's not. I don't think if the Knicks are not in better hands. Although they're not that worse. But Rose in the starting lineup, I don't think that's the answer either. Rose relishes and is comfortable, and that's just me speaking for what I see on the floor. I think that role in the second unit, the captain and the leader of the second unit, going all out, playing high energy he has the right complementary players around him to want to play this current style that Derrick Rose is capable and knows how to play. He's got the right players around him, and it suits his talent, his skill set better when you have role IQ. You have Gibson that he's familiar to. Toppin, who's athletic, high pace, high energy. Burks, I think he plays well and feeds off of them, and his skill set is in position to succeed. That's why I don't want to see any changes there. And I'm trying to say, who would you change? Maybe you want to. And the thing is, you can't even say we gotta put in a true power forward or a small forward, or maybe you may want to. And I hate to say it, RJ Barrett for Alex Burks, in the starting unit, because but then you're diminishing. You're kind of don't want to regress RJ Barrett's growth. You're gonna tell him he's the young starter. You want him to be next in line, actually, or dare I say, the leader of the franchise pretty soon. He's up and coming, and you want to bring him to the second unit. I don't see that happening either. That's astronomical, if you ask me. Kemba Walker, like, you don't want to switch him out for Derrick Rose, and quickly we don't really yet trust him yet as a point guard. So I've been thinking, what is the play here? There isn't. Honestly, I don't think there's a play here, and they're gonna have to figure it out. Unfortunately, Evan Fournier. If you put Evan Fournier but if you then even if you take Fournier and you put Burks in that role as well, swap them out, then now you're undersized again, extremely undersized, if you ask me, when it comes to the size matchup against team starting unit. Burks was 6'7", Burks is like 6'5", 6'6", around there. If you know, RJ, around there, and Julius. That's not a lot of height disparity, especially if Mitchell Robinson is out. You have to put a Taj Gibson along as well. That's the only true 7 footers. And man, that's head scratching move. And I don't know. I don't know what to say. Even if my plan works, when I mentioned earlier, you even try to bring in, on a trade, a one-on-one, and you got picks for Patrick Beverly, you're still going to be scratching head. Well, Patrick Beverly, I'm not saying to start Patrick Beverly either, but you have that Patrick Beverly with that extra role, that roster spot for Kevin Knox, and you could bring a Patrick Beverly, if Kemba is struggling, before you bring Rose or you could bring Patrick Beverly in the third quarter. I know Thibodeau likes to bring Rose in off the bench around 3 minute mark in the third quarter. So if, let's say, they go with a fourth quarter that they're a little struggling, and let's say RJ's got it going but Kemba's not, you bring in Patrick Beverly to play that perimeter defense. 7 minutes in the third period, in the third quarter, you bring in a Patrick Beverly to come in and play some defense, or in the second, in between the first and second, with 3 minutes to close out that first quarter. You could leave Rose and have him go 90 miles an hour in the second quarter to close out that quarter. Play 6 minutes in that second quarter at high pace. You bring a Patrick Beverly in to play a couple minutes there, to play his defense and so forth. That's the role. Unfortunately, they had that kind of player on their team, and Thibodeau didn't use them. I personally agree, was the Frank Ntilikina kind of role. I wasn't big on Frank, so I'm not going to sit here and say I wish we had him. I'm glad he's in Dallas. I'm glad he's out there playing well and doing his thing. But that kind of defensive specialist, that's what they're missing. But I understand. I understand why Ntilikina had to leave. He needed a fresh start. He needed a fresh start. He needed to clear his head, and not in New York. He wasn't going to. He would have been in a Kevin Knox situation. So I'm not even going to go there. I apologize for even bringing up Ntilikina name up. But Patrick Beverly needs to play that kind of role. They need that kind of player to come in there. Maybe Quentin Grimes might get that opportunity. Quentin Grimes came high on scouting report on his defense. That's why the Knicks drafted him, but I don't think he's going to see the floor at all. I'm not, and especially in front of Knox, then you're really going to lose to Kevin Knox. That's why I think the trade will work better. Just pull the plug on the Knox move already. Let that kid go play. Let him go play. Let him go somewhere. He's only 22 years old, young player, 22, 23. Don't stunt this growth. Let him go play. You're not even sending him to the G League. That it doesn't. I don't think it really doing a detriment to that young man just sitting there and watching. He wants to play. He wants to play. Send him to a team that could play. And just try to bring in a veteran like that, Beverly, to come in here. That's the only move I could think of, because I know Sacramento. Another move that I was thinking of, they need height and size. I've been saying since last year, actually, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to take Kevin Knox. Trust me, it's not. I'm not delusional. I'm not saying but Marvin Bagley the third. He's a 6'11". You can put him at the small forward position. Now you have height. And you could play that. That's why I thought the Knicks should have kicked the tires and waited to see what Laurie marketing was going to be cost. And they quickly signed Evan Fournier. I understand why. You know, they needed that kind of height at the small forward. They needed that length, that girth at there. You have kind of like a twin tower type of deal. Because you cannot play Robinson and Noel both, because Robinson doesn't have enough moves to play a small forward, and neither is Noel's hands. They're true centers. And Gibson, but then Gibson, man, you can't. I don't know. It won't work. You really need it. Kind of like a marketing, kind of small forward, and although marketing is a power forward at times, but it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see if what happens in the buyout market. But that's a ways to go. That's a lot of ways to go for it right now. You got to deal with the problem internally right now. What the Knicks are going through right now. I always kept saying keep an eye on the John Wall situation. If they buy him out, you don't have to do the Patrick Beverly move. You could sign Wall in here. You might have to DFA Shane Weldon. We don't know. If you sign Wall here for the remainder of the season, don't trade for him. Do not trade for that crazy, ridiculous contract. If Houston buys him out, then you sign him. You try to bring him here on a vet minimum for the remainder of the season and see what he's got. Then you go from there. That's another option. I don't want to hear Lance Stevenson. Lance Stevenson is not going to be signed with the Knicks. They had a chance for him last year. No matter how much he's balling out in the G League, I don't think I don't think he'll, another undersized. You're bringing another undersized shooting guard. I understand he's got the moxie and but right now height and his age is not working against Lance Stevenson, in my opinion. That ship has sailed. I think his time in the NBA. He might get a cup of coffee somewhere, but what we're asking him here, we're looking for a starting, either we need a starting point guard or a point guard that's going to fill the gap bridge between Rose and Kemba, those, and diminish their minutes and bring them in here. That's what the Knicks need. They need a power, a small forward, excuse me, a small forward here who has height, length, who could rebound and has some low post moves. They need a low post scorer. The Knicks are 3-point ball reliant heavily, which they have the shooters, but when you don't dominate in the paint and you don't have a post scorer inside, it shows. If I didn't see the numbers. Interesting to see. I'm gonna look at it myself. The numbers between how much uh, the contracts between Nolan Noel and Andre Drummond. I'm not saying I want Andre Drummond over Nolan Noel, but that's the type of player the Knicks. I wish that Nolan Noel had Andre Drummond's offensive skill set, because that's what the Knicks need. They need the Andre Drummond type of, and Andre Drummond isn't nothing to write home about either. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I would like, but that kind of skill set, I wish Nolan Noel or even Mitchell Robinson will create. But Mitchell Robinson has a whole other offensive skill set. But if you could get that kind of skill set offensively and rebounding from an Andre Drummond on Nolan Noel, along with his defense, with Noel's defense, that's a nice pickup. That would have been a nice combination kind of center player, because I know the days of the center dominating and scoring are over. And I'm not saying I want a heavy offensive dominating center that is going to score, because I do not want Karl Anthony Towns. Um, I know he's good and all, but I could pass on that contract and what it's going to take to get him. That's what it is. What it's going to take to get these players here. That's why I rather pass. And I know then you're going to say you're going to get stuck on this mediocrity. They're going to be mediocre. They're not going to. You got to give up to. You got to take a step back to take 3 steps forward. I agree with all that. But right now, I just want to see how the team pans out and how they exploit their matchup and how they gel. They're either going to sink or swim right now. This is a crossroads early in the season, and it's a crossroad right now. And the Knicks, they have not really traveled west, past the Central Division time zone yet. And we've seen a little bit of a concern, and let's hope that's just a minor blip on the schedule. Maybe when they go on the West Coast, they click, they find each other as well. And one thing I would love to find out, would love to be a fly in the wall, if they're still shooting after road games when they get into towns. Are they still going together as a collective unit after every road team? Remember last year's thing, we were giving praises whenever they go to a visiting city. Instead of hanging out, they'll all go find a local gym, a high school gym. Julius gets the team. They go extra shoot arounds. They go shooting the ball. They go practice on their own. Not with Con Thibodeau, not anything sanctioned by the coach, but the players taking the initiative to trying to get better. I wonder if Julius is still doing that. If those things are still happening and who's participating. If there's a division, those type of things. Those things help with chemistry, camaraderie, and fraternity, a brotherhood within the team. That's something I would like to know about. I know that's behind the scenes, but also that goes a long way. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed me venting and giving my opinions, my thoughts. Like I said, we could agree to disagree. You don't have to agree with my thoughts or my takes, because that's what makes the Jedi. The Sports Jedi's takes is my take, individual. Like the way I would respect everyone individual takes and thoughts. So, I respect all your thoughts and thinking, and I respect the fact that you might not agree with me. You might disagree. You might have other points, but feel free to put comments on the in anywhere that you're listening to the program, either through the podcast or on YouTube or on Facebook or in Twitter or Instagram, or in Twitch or in LinkedIn. We broadcast this to a lot of different platforms. So because we thank you because you guys support us and you give us your time. And I want to thank you for foremost, if you agree or disagree with me, but thank you for giving me your time. Something that you're not going to receive back is time. And I value it. I appreciate you giving me your time to listen, taking a minute or the seconds to listen to me, bring you my thoughts, and let me elaborate and talk about a team that we both love, yeah, which is the New York Knicks. We love the Knicks. We want to, like I said, we all want to be down there, right by the canyons of heroes. When we see them place the Larry O'Brien Trophy, passing us by on the float, heading to receive the key to the city. That's all we want to do. We want to be cheering. We want to raise that banner. We want to see these guys, honor them as heroes or with a confetti ticker tape parade. And that's all we want at the end of the day as Knicks fans. So, guys, I hope you have a blessed weekend. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday, or whenever you listen to this podcast. At that moment, I ask you guys to thank you so much and to receive a beautiful blessing. You make receive happiness, love overall. And guys, I thank you for your time. Bronx Sports Jedi Network thanks you. The network, everyone, myself, Chef Dan, Austin, Gideon, Z, everyone that's part of the program. Derek Wilder, that's part of the network. We're a network of friends that come together, not just on BX Sports Jedi Network, all across the different platforms. So thank you so much. I appreciate for your generous support. Thank you for all the Cash Apps and donations and all the PayPal donations. I appreciate it, man. I'm really humbled. Thank you for the loving support financially that you give us to allow us to, try to upgrade, with the merch store as well. Thank you so much again. Overwhelming supply, pleasantry that you are buying the merchandise for the MMA program. Thank you so much. I am so thankful and appreciative, humble, appreciative of all the generosity and the love that, wow, not just here in the United States, but all over across the world. I want to thank everyone in the Philippines, my people in the Philippines. Wow, thank you. You support this program immensely. Jerome, just to name a few, Alvin, Van, you got Eddie in Taiwan as well, always writing. And I got India in the building also. A lot of you wonderful people in India that support the program. And thank you so much. In Dominican Republic, wow, mi hermano en la República Dominicana, gracias. Gracias por el apoyo que tú me das al programa y gracias por todos los likes, apreciado. Gracias mucho y te lo agradezco con todo mi corazón el apoyo que Santo Domingo le da y la República Dominicana le da a este programa. Thank you so much. Thank you for our land speaking folks that watch us here. Knicks in Germany, my God, the Knicks fans in Germany, thank you. I got also in Twitter, Knicks fan Germany, thank you so much for your love and appreciative of your support. Knicks fans in Australia, CT, then check out the Knicks are buzzing. He's from Australia doing a program. He gets up at all hours of his time zone to watch the Knicks. Not only watch the Knicks, he has a channel to break it down pre and post game. So I'm giving CT salute to you. Streets are buzzing, Knicks are buzzing. He talks about not just the Knicks, NBA centric as well. So another content creator, friends of the program. Thank you so much, CT. And check him out too. He's from Australia, so you got an Australia in the building. Not just him from Australia. We have other folks in Australia that writes. Kangaroo Jack. You got a couple of others. Part of the friends of the program that writes and part of the network. So we thank you as well. For your love and support for us. Also, Knicks in Argentina. Gracias a todos mis hermanos argentinos, all my Argentine friends. Knicks fans in Brazil. Salute to you guys. Thank you in China. I was actually present in this pride to see the amount of Knicks fans that watch the program in my analytics that's from China. I was like, oh, I'm humble. Thank you to all our brothers and sisters in China, in the Middle East as well. United Arab Nation. Thank you to you guys. Thank you for watching and giving us your likes and subscribe. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We are worldwide. I am so humbly impressed and humbled and thankful for all your support and all the financial support as well that we receive. Thank you so much. All the information to if you want to be participant and bless the program in Cash App, PayPal, or super chats are all available in the description of the video in on your podcast. We thank you so much. And from Bronx Sports Jedi Network, I want to say thanks to everyone. We'll see you on the next time, and may the Knicks be with you, may the sports be with you.
Clear of the closing doors, please.